Hello, hello everyone, welcome back. Today I wanted to share a story with you. Talk a little bit about the stories we tell ourselves, the stories we've been told, and those stories we usually repeat over and over and over again. But let's start with a story from my own life. When my daughter was very little, we used to end each and every day with a bedtime story. And of course, we had a huge variety of stories we could choose from, but her favorites was always the ones I made up, usually based upon some kind of classic fairy tale. But instead of following that usual storyline, which was often centered around some kind of a young woman in some kind of distress, I would always change it. I would make the main figure, the heroine, I would make her brave, and I would make her really strong and, more than anything, extremely capable of creating her own story, her own life. And now, I think we are precisely in this moment in time as a collective. I think we're precisely asked right now to write a new story, to really write a new story, to start to look at our patterns, the patterns we have been recycling over and over and over again for an eternity. And start to truly release them and be able to write a new story. A story, an empowered story, a truly empowered story. Hi there everyone, and welcome back again. For those who doesn't know me, I'm Elka. I'm a soul reader, a transformational healer, and been so for the last 15 years already. So today I wanted to share a story with you, a true fairy tale coming straight out of my kitchen. Stories and myths are powerful healing tools. I use them constantly in my work because each and every one of us carries some kind of personal myth, a story we are trying to understand, some kind of pattern, a repeating pattern that we are intending to break. But, of course, in order to be able to break the pattern, to release it, we first of all have to understand. So, the first step is always awareness of what kind of pattern, what kind of story am I telling myself. That is always the first step in any healing. As you all know, in our modern society, we have this widespread victim consciousness. Most of us grew up with the idea of a savior, someone or something that would come from the outside and actually fix it all. Be that a heavenly savior or an earthly one. We truly were born with the idea that someone else would come and actually fix the whole thing. It was rarely suggested that we could actually save ourselves, that we had the power to save ourselves. And this was, of course, even more true if we were a woman. So unconsciously, many of us started to waiting for someone who would come and make it all right. And in doing so, well, of course, we just gave our power away. And in giving our power away, well, we became constantly more uncertain, more insecure, more afraid, more dependent on others, on a system, on professionals, on the opinion of others simply. And all that power we just gave away? we could have used that power in changing our own lives, in creating something great. Instead, we started to believe that wisdom, solution, and power itself was something completely external to us, and usually that it was something that belonged to just a few. Now, as you all know, our desires and beliefs is what shape our world. So if we want to change something in our world, well, then we have to start by looking within. Because everything is a mirror. Our world is always a mirror of what's happening inside ourselves. So, what is standing between me and the life I desire? Usually this will be a pattern. Some kind of repeating story I am telling myself over and over again. And, of course, a story that no longer serves me whatsoever. Most of these stories are, of course, inherited, passed down through our own family tree. Others may actually come from a former, earlier incarnation, where the things we experienced were so strong that they are still actually creating an echo in this life. And others, of course, might come from the collective unconscious. But what makes it so hard to recognize these patterns is that they're so deeply embedded in our unconscious. Let me give you an example of this. One of the most influential myths we have, still affecting everything, our daily life, comes right at the beginning of the Bible. In Genesis, in the very first chapter, we are actually reading that Eve was made from the rib of Adam. And furthermore, she was made to keep him company. Huh? What about that? What a myth. So, right from the start of the chapter, the female force is presented as a completely secondary force. A secondary character which is now reduced to being an assistant. This force that before this myth was actually extremely strong and completely at the same level as the male, now she is reduced to an assistant. Someone who is just there to keep him company. And this myth has now been playing out for thousands of years, like it or not. And of course, it's the idea of the male supremacy which was born here and which have created this huge imbalance between the male and the female force. And its impact is still very much alive in everything. Just look at the power structures in our world, in our institutions, in our workplaces, in our own families, and of course also inside ourselves. Now, if we bring this myth down to our own personal life, then we can start to see how these patterns affect us personally. If we were really lucky, we might have been born into a family where the power balance between the female and the male force was really equal. And if so, well, then we were really lucky, because then we will also have usually that balance inside ourselves. Furthermore, if we had a really good relationship with our mother and father, or still have maybe, then we also usually have a really good flow of the energy of the tree, of the life force of the tree inside ourselves, and that will show up as a lot of ease and flow in our own lives. This situation, however, is not the most common, sadly. this is truly to be, if we had that situation, we were so lucky. It's far more common that there was a unbalance in these forces in our family of origin. And one of these forces was far stronger than the other. And then, of course, this disequilibrium, which will also be present usually in ourselves. And furthermore, if we had or have maybe still quite a bad relationship with one of our parents, then, well, of course, there will be a tension, some kind of knot in our energy, which will then create some kind of decrease in the life force in our tree, which, of course, will create some kind of blockage in some kind of area in our life, depending upon it will be in the area which is corresponding to that energy knot in our tree. So, to start to heal one's tree, to start to heal those original wounds in our own family tree is actually of great importance, because it affects everything. And when we heal those energies, when we start to heal those mother and father wounds, we actually open up the force, the life force of our tree. So we will not only heal our own lives, we will also help heal the ones who came before us. But more than anything, we will also heal our own children and their lives. So it's not it's truly a very important task. And right now, I think we are precisely in this moment where we all are asked to start to look at these patterns. What are the stories we are telling ourselves? What are the stories we are repeating endlessly? To start to understand them in order to be able to heal, in order to be able to rewrite the story, write a far better story. And of course, also, we are all asked to start to actually breathe life into our own female force, because generally speaking, it's the female force which has been diminished for the last thousands of years. So she is the one who is needing our help. So how can we help that? We can help her by starting to look at our own intuition. Do I trust myself? Do I trust my wisdom? Do I actually believe in my inner knowing and follow it? Because when we start to balance these forces, this male and female force inside ourselves, that is when it also will start to change out there in the world. So I think we actually are on the brink of starting to create a new story, a new myth. At least this is what we are all invited to do. And hopefully we will now create a myth which is a myth of balance, a myth of harmony, peace, trust, connection instead of division, a sharing of our resources here on Mother Earth. I hope so. I truly hope so. And well, the good thing here is that the pen is actually in your hand. The pen is in the hand of each and every one of us. In the hand of each and every one of us. So maybe this new myth is actually being written by a woman in her kitchen telling a new fairy tale. And maybe, hopefully, she will write a really good ending. A really great ending. I truly hope so. Truly. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for today. I hope this could, wherever you are right now, in whatever situation, I truly hope this could give you some kind of inspiration to take back your power and to truly start to write this new story we are all invited to write. Hopefully, I could give you some inspiration. Thank you. Thank you so much for today. And thank you also for everyone who wants to give me a like or a comment, helping my small channel to start to grow. I would really love that. Thank you so much. Thank you. And well, that was all for today. See you soon. See you soon. Bye.